And make a quick little 90-degree bend here, right? Coming down, our free end height. However, sometimes you need to do something called a back-to-back bend. If you notice, right, we have a 90 coming up here, and another 90 made its way down to this box here as well. So, for a back-to-back bend, right, in this case I went ahead and made a 3-inch gap here on the top going over my joist. All right, so I need to go ahead and account for that. So what you're going to do here, right, is measure your free end height to the top of my joist. We're going to add that 3 inches, right? So the first part is exactly like a 90-degree bend, right? Take your free end height, subtract that 5 inches from that radius take up. However, what we want to do for a back-to-back bend is once we have this value, our first 90, we want to measure the span, or the distance between where the outside edge of this free end is going to be to this end over here, this box. So we got to measure that distance here. All right, so here's our first 90-degree bend that we made. Again, this whole valley from here to here, right, is 15 inches. I know from here to here is at 20, right? So now I want to mimic this, right? So we talked about that back-to-back bend here. So I went ahead, I measured my span from that to over there, right? So I had a span of 15 inches, which is pretty good. All right, so now I'm going to take my tape measure from the top edge here, my free end height. Again, this is the part that's going to that junction box. This is what's going across those joists here. So I come from the outside edge here. I do my best to go ahead and mark up 15 inches over here. All right, so that's going to be the span between those 2 points here. Again, keep it in line with what we said earlier. I'm going to go ahead, mark this up all the way around. Now we're going to go ahead and bend this. So for the back-to-back bend, okay, the pipe bender actually does a lot of the math for you. But instead of lining it up with this arrow here, we're actually going to be utilizing this small star here. Okay, so a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead, put this in here. Okay, instead of lining up that arrow, we're going to use the star to line up against that line there we made. Okay. Now, a big thing here is that we want to make sure when we do this is that we actually go ahead and make sure that our piece, okay, is going to be go ahead and level here. All right, so when I line this up, I want to make sure that my other end here, my 90, is actually straight. So I don't want to make sure it's not cockeyed here like this. Otherwise, when we bend this up, it ain't going to be straight. We go ahead, try the best, get that pretty straight again. And then now, we're going to do the same thing we did for that back 90. Take it, bend it, up. Kind of like that. I think I might need to come down just a bit more. And we'll go ahead and bring the level out. Level. We'll check. Okay, just a little bit more. All right, that's good stuff right there, right? That bubble's right in the middle. Just like what we want. Now you got your back-to-back bend. If you notice, both sides are just about equal.